To our amazing viewers at Cheating Tales Lab, sound off in the comments. Where in the world are you tuning in from? Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. The Weight of Legacy. Graham Adams stood in his childhood home, the scent of old wood and his father's cigars still clinging to the study. Afternoon light stretched long through the windows, catching dust motes that drifted in the hush. 3 days earlier, his father, Judge Morton Adams, a legend on the federal bench, had died of a heart attack. At 42, Graham had carved out his own reputation, a federal prosecutor with a perfect record and a talent for seeing 3 moves ahead. He'd learned the law from his father, but also how to read people, how to keep his pulse steady when the room was spinning. "You've always been like him," his mother Martha said softly from the doorway, 70, graceful. Her eyes rimmed red, but her voice steady. Morton could sit through a Category 5 and not flinch. "Someone has to keep it together, Mom," Graham said, managing a small smile. "Your wife still hasn't called back." A sliver of disapproval cut through the gentleness. Candace, absent since the day Morton died, had needed space and checked into a downtown hotel. Graham's jaw tightened. "No," he said. "She hasn't?" What Martha didn't know, 6 weeks ago, Graham learned Candace was having an affair. His best friend and fellow prosecutor, Darwin Howe, had spotted her wrapped around a square-jawed peacock named Chuck Hudson, a luxury car salesman with more gloss than substance. Darwin had taken photos. Graham had thanked him, closed the file, and gone back to work. In the weeks since, Graham had quietly documented everything: cash withdrawals, hotel receipts, patterns. Chuck's debts piled high. Candace's lies stacked higher. Graham said nothing. He waited. "Eat something, honey," Martha murmured, touching his arm. "The funeral's tomorrow." "I will," he promised, hugging her as she trembled. His phone buzzed. "Candace, we'll be there tomorrow." Needed time alone. "This is hard for me, too. Hard for her." Graham almost laughed. In 12 years, she'd met Morton a dozen times, always busy when family gathered. She'd wanted the lifestyle, not the life. Darwin appeared with a box from Morton's office. "Found some of your dad's trial notes." Inside were leather-bound journals, Morton's neat hand recording strategy and reflection. When Martha stepped out, Darwin asked, "Any word from her?" "She'll be at the funeral," Graham said, flat. "That's generous," Darwin muttered. "What are you going to do about Candace?" Graham traced a journal's edge. "I'm going to let her make the next move." "That's a dangerous game." "It's the only one that matters," Graham said, eyes gone cold. "My father always said, the best way to beat an opponent is to let them beat themselves." Chapter 2. The funeral morning broke gray and cold, weather that fit farewell. The church filled with judges, lawyers, reporters, and the ordinary people who'd found a champion in Judge Adams. Graham's eulogy rang through the vaulted space. "My father believed in 3 things: the law, the truth, and that justice delayed is justice denied. Integrity isn't perfection, it's being honest about your imperfections." In the front pew, Candace dabbed theatrically at her eyes in an elegant black dress. In the back, Chuck Hudson lurked in an ill-fitting suit and indoor sunglasses, as if the church were a low-rent movie set. At the reception afterward, condolences blurred together until a slick man with a too-bright smile cut through the crowd. "Mr. Adams?" "Seymour Rhee, attorney." He held out a manila envelope. "I'm sorry for your loss, but this can't wait." "Your wife has filed for divorce. I'm here to serve you." Conversations died in a widening circle. Darwin bristled. "You're serving him at his father's funeral?" "My client wanted to move quickly," Rhee said, unbothered. Then Chuck materialized beside him. "She wants everything," he smirked. "After putting up with you and this stuffy family." Graham took the papers, took the pen. He didn't read a line. He flipped to the signature page and signed. Once, twice, thrice, calm as a surgeon. Gasps fluttered. Rhee blinked. "You're not going to fight this?" "She can have it all," Graham said evenly. "Everything she thinks she wants." He handed back the pen, turned away, and resumed a conversation with Judge Trenton Harmon as if nothing had happened. Darwin dragged him aside. "Are you out of your mind?" "No," Graham murmured, eyes like winter. "I just made the biggest mistake of Seymour Rhee's career." Chapter 3. The mistake in his car, Rhee's thrill melted to dread. A quick search turned his stomach to ice. Graham Adams, lead federal prosecutor, 43 straight wins, the man who'd toppled a crime family and sent senators to prison. Morton Adams' son, Rhee, called Candace. "He signed," she crowed. "Told you he'd roll over." "Did you tell me about the Adams Family Trust?" Rhee asked, voice shaking. "What trust? Old money articles of foundation properties?" Rhee realized his template papers didn't account for separate property, trusts, or inherited assets. He'd served at a funeral. He'd likely violated ethics rules. He'd been cheap and sloppy, and Graham had let him. "I'm withdrawing," Rhee blurted, effective immediately. "Get a real lawyer. You can't just quit." "Watch me," he said, already searching for an ethics attorney. Chapter 4. Celebration and Revelation. That night, Candace celebrated with Chuck in his designer-on-credit apartment. Champagne she'd paid for fizzing in tall glasses. Doubts scratched. Graham never rolled over. Her sister Dixie Cordova called, frantic. "Do you know who your husband is?" "You think you ambushed Graham Adams? If he signed without a fight, it's because he wants you to think you won." "You're being paranoid," Candace said, but her voice wavered. Chapter 5. The evidence back in his office. Graham spread 6 weeks of work across the desk. Paper, not screens. Every withdrawal, he told Darwin. Every dinner, every hotel. Phone logs, cloud backups. Video from lobbies. And Chuck? 2 civil suits for fraud, 200 grand in debt, behind on child support, and he's part of a federal identity theft ring. Financial Crimes has been building the case for months. Darwin exhaled. Candace spent 40 grand in 3 months. 43, Graham corrected. That's dissipation of assets. And she opened a credit card in my name. 15,000 in charges. I'm not filing criminally yet, but it's leverage. He tapped a second stack. I filed my own divorce with Enoch Kemp at Williams & Bright. Everything's correctly listed. Separate property, the trust, dissipation, fraud claims. Candace's papers. DOA. Wrong respondent info, no separate property, no trust, no temporary orders. I signed to keep Rhee sloppy. He resigned. She's unrepresented. Darwin shook his head. You saw all that in 30 seconds? I saw enough, Graham said, and confirmed it later. Never interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake. Chapter 6. The unraveling at 8 a.m. A process server handed Candace a thicker packet at Chuck's apartment. She skimmed. The room tilted. Dissipation. Fraud. Identity theft? She whispered. Chuck grabbed the pages and paled. How does he know about this? Her phone rang. Enoch Kemp. Mrs. Adams, retained counsel. Mr. Adams is offering $15,000, forgiveness of the joint card debt, and no criminal referrals. In exchange, you waive all claims. What about the house? The savings? The house belongs to the Adams Family Trust, not marital property. Your husband's assets remained separate, as per your prenuptial agreement. We didn't have a prenup. We have your signed witnessed copy on file, Kemp said. Judge Trenton Harmon witnessed it. There's a video, too. Standard for agreements of this size. Candace couldn't breathe. She remembered now. The week before the wedding, the papers she hadn't bothered to read. You have 48 hours, Kemp said. After that, we proceed. Publicly. Chapter 7. The Confrontation. 3 days later at Williams & Bright, Candace sat beside her new attorney, Martha Leach, across from Graham, Kemp, and Darwin. Graham looked like he always did. Composed, unreadable, a prosecutor assessing a witness. You didn't have to make this so difficult, he said. You trapped me, Candace snapped. You tricked me into signing a prenup. I offered you time, independent counsel, even postponing the wedding, Graham replied. You said I don't care about the money. I just want to marry you, Leach squeezed Candace's arm. My client made mistakes. She's willing to negotiate. I've offered mercy, Graham said. $15,000 and no charges. You opened a credit card in my name, drained the joint account, and served me at my father's funeral to humiliate me. Tears slid down Candace's cheeks. How am I supposed to start over with nothing? The way everyone does, Graham said, standing. You have 24 hours. Otherwise, we go to court, and every detail becomes public. The affair, the fraud, the dissipation. Are you sure that's what you want? What about Chuck? She whispered. Chuck Hudson has bigger problems, Darwin said. The identity theft case is wrapping. Arrests are imminent. If you're smart, you'll stay away. We've made it clear you were conned unless you keep helping him. Graham paused at the door. For what it's worth, I did love you. I wanted a life. I'm sorry you didn't. Kemp set the settlement on the table. Sign by tomorrow, and this ends quietly. After they left, Leach didn't sugarcoat it. Sign it. This isn't revenge. It's restraint. Chapter 8. The Reckoning. 5 days later, agents arrested Chuck at a luxury lot mid-fraud. Cameras rolled. The story led the evening news. A ring responsible for more than $2 million. Candace, now in a budget hotel and bound by her signed settlement, answered a call from Seymour Rhee. I'm probably getting disbarred, he said flatly. But listen, Graham,